This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No. Y'all, just stop.
Get real. Welcome to DBL. Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm Jeff in for Tori again today.
Yes.
What's going on?
Dream team.
Dream team right here, huh?
Let's go, boys.
Yeah.
Dun, Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who sings that?
I wanna hit. We just covered it last week, Erica.
We did. Her name is?
Give me the first letter.
I don't know it either.
Okay. Shania Twain.
I do know that. I didn't know that. Okay, all right. Well, starting off. Great. All right, so let's start off today with Alec Baldwin. He will be prosecuted for the shooting that happened on set of the movie Rust that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins. If you recall, Alec did shoot the gun that killed her. It was supposed to be loaded with blanks, but was not. Alec will be charged with involuntary manslaughter, and if found guilty, he could face a maximum of 5 years in prison. Alec denied any wrongdoing, of course, in this interview with ABC, saying all he did was follow instructions. Alec was not the only one charged. So was armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, who was in charge of the weapons on set. So DBL Nation, we want to hear from you. Do you think this was the right decision to even charge Alec Baldwin in this case? Yes or no? I'm going with no, but what do you guys think?
I think if Alec Baldwin had walked on to a set and been cast as an actor exclusively and this happened, we'd be having a completely different conversation. But the truth is, Alec Baldwin was also the producer on this set. It's a part of his responsibility to ensure that the working conditions are safe and in compliance. Some decisions were made that we know of in terms of deciding on using a union or union staff or not. A part of being a part of a union is that these safety measures and all of these things, there's more of a checks and balances system. There seem to have been a lot of things that weren't taken care of properly, and I think this is the result.
No, Erica, with your logic.
No.
That is a great,
Exactly right.
counterpoint. Right.
That's a great point. It's a great point, and that's why I love talking with you. You know, I always look at the greater good, and what are we going to get? We originally had the concept of prison and imprisonment and punishment, especially public punishments, to deter future crimes and to punish people that we feel did something in bad faith. I don't think that we think that this is going to happen again on a set involving Alec Baldwin, hopefully with no one. And I don't think that this is something that we could punish him for that he won't punish himself a million times over. You know, if I could make the decision to go to jail for 5 years and then have my brain erased to not think about this, or to every quiet moment I have right before my head hits the pillow to think about this, I know which choice I'd make. Alec Baldwin is already in jail. He just happens to be walking around amongst us. And the idea that he needs to go to jail for this to like really learn his lesson, unless he is a total sociopath, I think that this is something that will haunt him and anybody that was on that set forever. Was it probably negligent? Absolutely. Does it seem like the armorer was incredibly unqualified? Remember that picture we saw her where it was like, bring your kid to work day? She like was posing with a gun. I think that steps were missed. I think punitive damages are in order, but I don't think putting Alec Baldwin in jail is going to do anything.
Yeah, I'm shocked that it got this far.
Right.
I thought he wouldn't be charged. Maybe his production company be dissolved and have to pay some restitution. That I totally believe, because he was in charge of that set and there was a lot of things on set that were wrong. So he's got to do, something's got to be resolved there.
Right.
But for him as an actor, when it's someone else's job to load that gun, when it wasn't even supposed to be fired, right? So why were there even blanks in there as opposed to live rounds? That's someone else's job. This isn't his first time on set. He's, my opinion, fired a gun on set a lot of times, right? So that's not his job, and I've explained this in the past. If you're an actor, I don't know if Alec Baldwin works like this, but I'm like, I need to be there on that mark, and when this person says this line, I need to be here, and then bang, right? Especially in like warm-ups or if you're rehearsing, right? If you have a basketball and you're not supposed to shoot it, Al, and you're rehearsing, are you going to fire that ball up at the rim a couple times?
Yes.
I'm not saying it's the same thing, but I'm saying it's not his responsibility to know if that gun was supposed to be loaded or not. It's the armorer's job.
Right.
Now, the armorer, Gutierrez-Reed, now she might be charged.
Right.
I understand that. But Alec Baldwin, I was shocked when I
shocked
heard
when I heard
that
this.
he was being charged with this.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I wish nothing but the best for her family, but I don't think this is the move. I don't think this is doing a public good.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate accidental case that we're still dealing with right now. Let's check out these poll results, which I'm surprised by too. 41% yes and 59% no. I don't know. I don't know how it's that close.
Well, I think it's kind of like what we're talking about. We're really kind of splitting hairs at a certain point, because earlier it was asked, was Alec Baldwin the actor or Alec Baldwin the producer charged? And it's still Alec Baldwin. And in terms of the idea of if this is for the greater good, will this be a deterrent from him committing this crime in the future, when we honestly don't believe with logical thinking that he would ever have, or this would ever happen again? But that's also the nature of involuntary manslaughter, period.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of cases to be made for your same sentiment about Alec Baldwin, and people are still charged with involuntary manslaughter for a multitude of reasons every day.
Can I ask you this? Do you think his celebrity had anything to do with him being charged?
No.
No?
I do not. I don't. I really don't, because I think that, as I said before, that if it were just Alec Baldwin went to a casting call and got this role, then I don't think we'd be having this conversation. But it was his responsibility as the producer. Decisions were made, and we need to remember that those decisions included finding someone who was perhaps cheaper, or for whatever reason, the decision was made not to go with a skilled union laborer, and this is what happened.
I don't know. I think the district attorney has a lot of, or whoever's the prosecution has a lot of pressure saying, like, we need to resolve this, and Alec Baldwin needs to be charged with this. If this story never hit the papers, I don't think there would be any charges.
Right, and don't forget, prosecutors make their career off of big names. Like, that's how you get. We know Rudy Giuliani because he took down the mob in New York in the '80s. So it's like you want these career cases, and I mean, for a prosecutor that's looking to level up and maybe one day become the attorney general, you need a couple big names on that resume. And I don't know if it's personal, but I just know that it's weird. That's how it works. The high-profile cases with the prosecutor moves you up.
Or maybe it's the fact that a young woman who was a mother died for no reason, and it was all based on negligence. And there might need to be justice, at least something served for that.
Very true.
Erica's a good defense attorney.
I know.
We were both on the same side, and she kind of got us.
I'd be in court right now, like shuffling my papers. After her first comment, I'd be like, that was
I'd be like, Al, we need a 5-minute recess.
I'd be pretending to write over here.
We're going to take our 5-minute recess right now. Coming up on DBL, our interview with author and alternative medicine advocate Deepak Chopra. Plus, George Santos denies being a Brazilian drag queen in his past. Yeah, is this just another lie? Stick around.
You ever think you read?
I'm just shocked even the audience is kind of that split. It was kind of down the middle, but Erica makes some really great points, And
let's not forget, Alec Baldwin is very polarizing. Either way, and people have thoughts and feelings, and he's been outspoken about political things and just right. And so, like, let's not forget, like, I don't know. I think everything's a little bit personal. Yeah, he is a little bit, and he's brash and like he's very out of touch. He knows who he is, and he knows the weight that he swings, and I think that rubs people the wrong way. I mean, to say that there are people involved in this case that don't have feelings about him one way or the other, now whether that affects their professional decision, I would never speculate on. It just, he's a polarizing guy. I'm surprised that in a situation like this, that he would face a criminal charge. I don't know I was thinking, what if this was like Saving Private Ryan, and they were filming like a World War II movie, and somebody threw a grenade that was, live. Would that person, if they were kind of a less known actor, would they face as much consequences?
But we're not talking about Alec Baldwin, the actor. We're talking about Alec Baldwin, the producer.
So you're saying if it wasn't, if it was another producer, that's who you think they would be?
I don't think, if someone else was producing the movie, I don't think Alec Baldwin would have been charged with involuntary manslaughter. I don't. I think it really comes down to the conditions on the set and what led to this negligence occurring, which Alec Baldwin, the producer, is responsible for. So I think, like, by saying, questioning why he's being charged, if he were anyone else, would we be questioning why he was being charged?
But if, although I will say this, I'm sure there.
Welcome back. This is interesting. The calls for Congressman George Santos to resign are getting louder and louder. After a string of new revelations, we're going to start with a new report that alleges George Santos went by the name of Katara and was an aspiring drag queen while living in Brazil in 2008. He's allegedly there on the right in this photo. A reporter spoke with the other drag queen in the picture who claimed to be his friend, saying Santos enjoyed dressing up and did it for fun, right? She also shared this video saying this was Santos in drag being interviewed at a pride parade. And Santos tweeted a denial saying that is categorically false. That's how I know you're lying. You use the word categorically.
No one that's innocent ever
Yeah,
used that
you just
word.
say, that wasn't me. What
Yeah.
are you talking about? Categorically false? You're lying.
Yeah.
Well,
Agreed.
I mean, listen, the reason why the drag queen story is of any significance at all is because of the nature of how the Republican Party has
You
come
have to point that out, yes.
right, for drag queens and the art of performance of drag. Now, I mean, Santos, if you look at him, could make a beautiful drag queen, just to put it into perspective, okay? I'm not, one way or the other, I do not care. It doesn't matter.
Can we get that back
What
up
I
there?
care about, I mean,
you're talking,
it does have, I'm just saying, from my non-expert opinion, there are some structures there that would make, yes, absolutely. That skin, the lips, absolutely. I think he would make a beautiful drag queen. That being said, I think the real issue is it's the idea of this political grifting. We have so many grifters who are in places of power, and really what they're doing is just checking these litmus tests to see like what sticks. It's like, oh, if I say I'm a Republican, will people, follow me then? Oh no, that didn't work. I think I'll try the Democratic Party. Oh, that didn't work. I think I'll try this. I think I'll try that. And then they just do whatever it takes in order for it to stick. Then somehow find positions of power, and everyone's like, why aren't they, constructed of high moral fiber? Because they're doing whatever it takes to win in life. And for some reason, we have this handful, or maybe more, it depends on who you ask, people who find safety in politics. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the idea of being able to promote yourself to other people. But that's all I see.
I get that, and I think 99.999% of the time that is 100% correct. This is a unique situation in that we've never seen anybody lie on this scale. This isn't even, Jeff, you mentioned me, this isn't Herschel Walker lying, like I don't have a kid, oh, I kind of do. This is somebody who maybe is lying about their name. Well, I mean, we don't know anything.
Real quick, no, I don't. We don't have time for that. But he lied about his mother possibly, allegedly dying from cancer caused by 9/11 attacks.
And she was in Brazil at the time. Yeah. Anybody that lies, they're not a real person. And the reason that I feel that he has not been removed yet is because they don't have permission to remove him from the higher ups. This guy was broke one year. The next year, he had enough money to donate $700,000 to his own campaign. How did that happen? Where did that money come from? It came from a source that is above my pay grade. But that same source, I guarantee you, is allowing him to stay in power. Because even though they only have a 4-seat majority in the House, I believe that there is a reason that he is not being removed, because he's such an embarrassment, but yet he's still there. How is he still sitting there? Ask yourself that question. How is this guy still sitting there? They got rid of Madison Cawthorn.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't understand politics at all. I get that you need the Republican numbers and things like that. But at what point? A detriment to what?
Right.
Your parties, you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to turn a blind eye. Not about the drag queen, just about all the other lives put together. You want a person like that representing your party? That's embarrassing.
Something really bad could
Yeah,
come
that's
about this
embarrassing.
guy, yeah.
Coming up on DBL, we talk with best-selling author Deepak Chopra all about his new book.
According to the FBI, wire fraud cost victims $6.9 billion in the U.S. last year. Concern over cybercrime prompted Rita Moore to ask if it's best to use a cashier's check instead of a wire transfer when she closes on her home in January. Let's verify. Our sources are Wells Fargo Bank and Andy Green, cybersecurity expert at Kennesaw State University. Wire transfers are the most common way to exchange money during the purchase of a home. On its website, Wells Fargo explains that it's fast, easy, and typically irreversible, and because of all that, frequently used in fraud schemes.
It's easy, it's safe, but there are also some threats associated with it.
Andy Green tells us you can neutralize the threat of a fraud scheme. He explained that the request for a wire transfer will typically come by email. Green says before you wire any money, make sure the email came from the right people.
Call the closing attorney and have a conversation with their paralegal, somebody on their staff, and verify. Just ask the simple question, hey, I got this email with these routing details. Is this the actual detail?
Some cashier's checks offer security features to reduce the risk of fraud for a fee, but Green says there's no guarantee. He says it's important not to let anyone rush you.
We get worked up and think, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. And the criminals are relying on that pressure that you feel internally.
So we can verify that no, a cashier's check isn't necessarily safer than wiring money to avoid fraud. Our experts tell us that whatever route you take, it's important to take extra steps to avoid being victimized.
Welcome back to DBL. Our next guest is a New York Times best-selling author who has paved the way in alternative medicine for the past 30 years. Earlier, we spoke with Deepak Chopra about his newest book, Living in the Light. Take a look. Please welcome Deepak Chopra.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
When you first began your yoga journey 45 years ago, did you feel intimidated to start like so many of us do?
You know, I come from a culture where yoga is part of our tradition, and it's been there for thousands of years. And so it's a book I wrote just now is one aspect of yoga that completes the totality of yoga. So, you know, there are 8 limbs to yoga: social, emotional, intelligence, the yoga postures that people practice when they go to a studio, breathing techniques, withdrawal of the senses and learning how to navigate the inside of your body, concentration, meditation, and ultimately transcendence. So in my tradition, again, as I said, there are four phases of life. First 25 years, education. Second 25 years, fame, fortune, taking care of your family. Third 25 years, giving back. And the last phase, which I'm in now, preparing for the final chapters, which is death and self-realization. So for me, I've just followed my journey.
What a beautiful outlook.
What a journey it has been, sir. Just personally, I'm on my 38th yoga class, and I'm telling you, it's changed my life. So I appreciate it. Yeah, well, thank you. And your book, you explain to readers how to be in the light. What was the most memorable experience that brought you into the light personally?
Well, the most memorable experience was actually, I'm embarrassed to say, when I was 18 years old and in medical school, and we went through an experience as part of a medical trial, or what you might say investigation, or science, an LSD trip.
Okay.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
So, Deepak, we saw you address world leaders, comparing them to gangsters. Is there anyone you feel represents what a true leader looks like?
Well, Martin Luther King Jr., a true leader, Nelson Mandela, true leader. Mahatma Gandhi, true leader. Abraham Lincoln, true leader. There are many, but right now I think the only two people I can think of is the current Prime Minister of Ireland and the Prime Minister of New Zealand. They're low and very effective and honest and truthful.
I was waiting for New Zealand.
I was
waiting. I love her leadership.
Jacinda. Love her.
Exactly. Well, you do great work through your Never Alone Foundation for Suicide Prevention. How can loved ones help this younger generation feel seen and heard?
We're talking in this campaign through our foundation, neveralone.love, of four things: attention, deep listening; affection, deep caring, empathy, compassion; appreciation, deep gratitude; and acceptance, radical acceptance of everyone just as they are. And we are creating online and offline programs to help people feel that they're never alone. And actually, our emotional chatbot, which is an AI, has intervened in 6,000 suicide ideations and is talking to 20 million people all at the same time. It turns out, you'll be surprised, that teenagers are more comfortable talking to a machine than to a human being because the machine doesn't judge them.
Yeah.
That was
powerful. We could listen to you all day, Deepak. Thank you so much for joining us. DBL Nation, make sure to pick up a copy of Deepak's newest book, Living in the Light, and visit neveralone.love for suicide prevention. Also, you don't want to miss Deepak's NFT collection, available now. To learn more, visit nft.time.com. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The U.S. began the day already $31.3 trillion in debt, according to the Treasury Department, and that's inching closer to the debt ceiling of about $31.4 trillion, the highest amount of debt the federal government can legally accumulate. We turn to a number of sources to answer the big questions, like first, why do we even have a debt ceiling? The Committee for a Responsible Budget explains the debt ceiling, or debt limit, was established during World War I as a way to make borrowing money easier and more flexible, and Congress has raised that limit many times since then. What happens when the U.S. reaches its debt limit? The debt can't rise past the ceiling, no more borrowing, so the federal government can only spend money it has on hand to pay for its obligations. In her letter to Congress, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen also warns the Treasury, quote, will need to start taking certain extraordinary measures to prevent the United States from defaulting, which essentially means doing some creative accounting on repaying certain funds and programs. Yellen expects spending only what we have, and those extraordinary measures will keep the U.S. in the clear until at least early June. So what if we do default? Well, we can only speculate because, as the White House explains, the U.S. has never intentionally defaulted after not raising the debt ceiling, but warns of widespread economic fallout if it does. This Treasury Department report further explains, quote, credit markets could freeze, the value of the dollar could plummet, U.S. interest rates could skyrocket, the negative spillovers could reverberate around the world, and there might be a financial crisis and recession as a result of default. The report examines the last time we teetered on the edge of default, back in 2011. Though Congress eventually did raise the debt ceiling, we came so close to the brink that the U.S. credit rating was downgraded. Job growth slowed, the stock market fell, and financial markets were overall stressed for months. And right now in 2023, there's real concern we'll head back to that precarious territory, with a vocal contingent of Republicans in the House of Representatives saying they will refuse to vote for a debt limit increase without certain spending cuts that could be really hard to agree on in this divided Congress. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
How much of our brains do we actually use? You've probably heard that it's only about 10%, which means we're missing out on a lot of untapped brain power. Verify viewer Lucia asked our team to find out if this theory is true or false. So Lucia, let's verify. We went to these sources for an answer, and they all agree. This claim is false.
We don't use only 10%, we use 100% of our brain.
Neuroscientist Dr. Eric Chudler says with the help of brain imaging techniques like functional MRIs and PET scans, scientists have proven that we use 100% of our brains every day.
And when you look at a brain image, all parts of the brain are doing something. There's no part of the brain that's just sitting there inactive.
So where did this myth come from? Chudler says one of the possible origination theories dates back to 1907.
Psychologist William James wrote in a very influential book that we only use part of our possible mental or physical resources, but he never put a percentage on it.
According to the Association for Psychological Science, James did not claim that humans only use a small portion of their brains. Instead, they say James was observing how decorum, social norms, and routines fail to engage all of people's resources. So we can verify, no, humans don't only use 10% of our brains.
Welcome back. Check out these amazing products from our friends at MorningSave. Steph, what do you got for us today?
Check this out, Martha Stewart Essential 14-piece knife block set. These knives are only available in a very limited quantity, so make sure you get your set while you still can. So normally this set, I mean, look how beautiful these are, is $86, which is a good price, but guess what? We've got it for $39.99, saving you guys 54%.
One of my favorite things on your little list today.
Okay, this is one of my favorite things this week. It is the Laura Geller Warm and Wonderful Baked Eyeshadow Palette. So this deal includes one eyeshadow palette that has 31 colors that will complement all skin tones. Normally, this is $99, but we've got it for just $19.99, which is saving up to 80%. Up next, we've got the RVX Quad Action Percussion Massager. So this deal includes one massager that's got different interchangeable heads. So whether you need to relieve everyday tension or tight muscles after a workout, this massager provides pain relief wherever you need it. Normally, it is $120, but we've got it for just $29.99, which saves everyone 75%.
People think they don't need this, but then when you go to someone's house and they have it and you start using it, you're like, I need to get one of these. And at that price, get yourself one.
Our last product today, love these, live with them, use them all the time. 20-pack Glossmetics Cooling Under Eye Masks. So this deal includes 20 pairs of eye masks that are made with all natural ingredients, which makes them perfect for all skin types. Now, normally these are $100. They are expensive, but we've got them for just $24.99, which saves 75%. And honestly, you guys, I genuinely use these. I do recommend these. Fabulous. Love them.
Beautiful, Steph. I love it. Head on over to morningsave.com to snag these amazing deals at the lowest prices, or you can even scan the QR code on your screen to take you directly to these products on MorningSave's website. Again, thank you so much, Steph. Would you guys ever legit buy one of those chairs, you know, that you sit in like at the mall and it massages your whole body and it's awesome? I feel like Erica would.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of space. You know?
Yeah, it is a lot of space. But it's something that you would have at your place.
Yeah, we don't have that much space.
You make room. That's right. All right, let's see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place.